Welcome boys and girls from YouTube. My name is Sloth, this is the SlothForge, and in today's video I wanted to admit a topic that has been asked for more than once now, and it is a very important topic, and it is also a very complex topic, to be honest. So this is why I decided to split this video into 2 parts, probably, maybe even 3, and today we will have a look, an in-depth look at the first part. You probably already guessed it, we talk about gear, and today we talk about how to gear your DPS heroes. Now, first, when it comes to gearing DPS heroes, or your damage dealers, there is the first question that you have to ask yourself is, what kind of damage does your damage dealer deal? Because there are actually 2 different versions, 2 different categories when it comes to your DPS unit. The first category, this is probably like, I would say like 3 out of 4 heroes in this game, 3 out of 4 DPS heroes belong to the first category. It is just a typical DPS unit, just like you know it from many other gachas and RPGs in general. You just want good amount of attack and also good crit rate. In the best case scenario, you want maximum crit rate of 100%, and then just as much attack, as much crit damage as possible. So this is the first category. But some heroes belong to the second category. A very good example for this is Premza, because she in theory can deal very good amounts of crit damage, but she's more focused on derivative damage. So this is the second category, is your DPS unit dealing derivative damage. And derivative damage cannot hit critical, but is also affected by enlightenment and not only by attack. So this is why those are built completely different than heroes from the first category. Your derivative damage dealers want high attack and high enlightenment, and that's it. They don't need critical rate and also don't critical damage. They just want as much attack and as much enlightenment as possible. While generally speaking, they scale better off enlightenment than on attack. So for example, on your chest, you want to have an proficiency or enlightenment chest. Proficiency and enlightenment are the exact same stats. So don't get confused by this. This is right now just a bad translation and will be fixed soon. But yeah, back to the topic. Your enlightenment or proficiency is the most important stat when it comes to building an derivative damage dealer. Now, how can you find out if your hero is dealing critical hits or derivative damage? Just look at their skills real quick, and then you will see if there is something written about derivative damage. And if there is something written about derivative damage, then they want derivative damage, enlightenment, and don't need any crit rate at all. Also, you have an in-depth look, or a bit deeper look at their skills. Some heroes also just scale directly with enlightenment as well. Then as well, you can absolutely ignore crit rate and crit damage. Then you only want enlightenment and attack for heroes like this. So this is the first question. Do you have an enlightenment hero and a derivative damage dealer, or do you have the standard DPS unit, the standard crit hitter? Now, and we are going to split this video into 2 parts. In the first part, I want to discuss a little bit how to build the normal DPS unit. In the second part, we discuss a bit in depth how to build a derivative damage dealer. So let's get into this. The crit hitter. Like I said, 3 out of 4 heroes want crit rate and crit damage it's approximately 3 out of 4. Now, what do those heroes want in particular? What for sets do they want? And here once again, there is one big rule when it comes to choosing the sets. If you have access, in theory, to all sets, if you have like the best possible items in existence, then it is always best in slot to use 4 different one-piece sets. over one legendary 3-piece set in combination with one-piece set. So this is rule number 1. If you have access to very good and many equipment pieces, then you want 4 one-piece sets on your DPS unit. Now this is only true for DPS units, and there are some exceptions as well, and we will talk about them later on in this video. But now let's just first discuss about the overall idea of how to build the perfect DPS unit. Let's make this as an example of Casper. As I said, you want high crit rate. If possible, 100% is absolutely your goal, but if it is only 90% or 95%, it is fine. Don't stress yourself too much about this, and try not to overcap. Now, if you have like 110 or even more crit rate, you should probably switch some pieces, because overcapping your crit rate is just a waste of resources. Then you should probably focus on more attack and more crit damage. And that's it from the stat perspective. Now let's have a look at the pieces that you want. First, one quick note is that the top row has access to different one-piece sets than the bottom row. So you will never ever have a Strike the Unprepared helmet or weapon, and you will also never have a Fearless Challenge chest or gloves, and vice versa. So just keep this in mind. This is why it is highly suggested to farm all 4 dungeons, not focus on only farming one dungeon. And also the second note, the bottom row, chest and gloves, can have different main stats. So it is very hard to find the perfect gear. It is very hard to find the perfect Strike the Unprepared set, because there are in theory 9 different main stats for your chest and 8 different main stats, or also 9 for your gloves. So it is very hard to find, for example, an attack percentage chest from the Strike the Unprepared set. So it just takes a little bit of time. So generally speaking, I think it is preferred to farm a little bit more chests and gloves than helmets and weapons. But you definitely don't. You should still farm some helms and weapons, just because especially the Fearless Challenge set is extremely strong. And now, talking about the Fearless Challenge set, let's start building our Casper. And first, in theory, as I said, we try to build, in theory, a very strong Casper. The Fearless Challenge is, in my opinion, probably one of the best sets right now, just because it provides you 60% increased damage for heroes with higher max HP, and so easy set that every single boss has way more HP than your heroes have, so it's just overall 60% increased damage. Super fine, we take it, it's nice. Let's go with this. And you don't have to need a weapon. The Fearless Challenge set, it can also be your helmet. It is just overall, try to use a Fearless Challenge set on either helmet or weapon, if somehow possible. This is actually true for every DPS unit, not only for your crit hitters. Your derivative damage dealers also want the Fearless Challenge, but we get to this in a couple of minutes. Now, when it comes to the second part, there are 2 different offensive options. First, the Magic Crystal Refinement, and second, the Chaos Symbiosis. Now, just overall, generally speaking, the Chaos Symbiosis is better for this purpose, just because this one-piece set can provide up to another 30% attack, which is a lot. Like in this case, it is another 500 attack. This is a lot, isn't it? So this is, generally speaking, a little bit better, but there are some DPS units, as you can see, for example, Twitch, who also have some accuracy. And then the Magic Crystal Refinement set is a little bit better, because 300% of your current accuracy, this is a lot. So you're gearing your accuracy heroes with about 250 to 300 accuracy, so this is something between 700 and 900 additional accuracy, maybe even more. So the Magic Crystal Refinement set can be extremely strong as well, especially on poison heroes and on Frost heroes, because those heroes, even the DPS heroes, sometimes want a little bit of accuracy. So then the Magic Crystal Refinement is very strong. So this is the top row. Now let's go to the bottom row. Here, as I already mentioned, there are once again 4 different offensive sets, and all of them are very strong in the right scenarios. First, the Strike the Unprepared is probably the strongest out of those 4 sets, just in general, because it just provides another 30% increased damage to enemies under the defense penalty debuff, and you like nearly always bring a hero that provides the defense penalty that is using the Witch Remains and applies the defense penalty, and then you just deal another 30% additional damage. So this is a lot, especially because normally you are timing your ultimates so that your DPS unit is using his ultimate after the defense penalty hero applied the defense penalty. So it just adds up. The Strike the Unprepared set, or the Carnage set as many people talk about, is extremely strong and highly recommended. But now, what main stat do you want on your gloves? This is the second very important question, because there are many different options. Or actually it comes down to 3 different options: crit damage, crit rate, and attack percentage. Those are the 3 different main sets that all are relatively strong, but out of those 3, the probably strongest is crit damage, because crit damage just scales so well in the late game. It scales a little bit better than attack percentage, and it is also a little bit harder to get high crit damage numbers than crit rate numbers. So I would say that the best scenario is a glove with crit damage, but crit rate is also absolutely fine if you have some very good items, some very good gear with crit damage sub-rolls. Now we are using this crit damage glove on Casper, and we have the chest open. Now for the chest, we have not access to the crit rate or crit damage main stat, but instead chests have access to accuracy and resistance main stat. Now obviously those 2 main stats are not that important when it comes to your DPS unit. So for the chest, it is relatively simple. The best in slot for chest is attack percentage. And once again, if you have an attack percentage chest, look for something with some useful sub-rules as well. Ideally some crit damage and crit rate. And that's it pretty much. Now this was obviously wrong, because we don't need to Strike the Unprepared, because I think I already mentioned it, but I'm not sure actually. You always, those sets don't stack. We always only want 1 item of 1 set, because they don't stack. So going with 2 Strike the Unprepared sets makes no sense at all. So now there are 3 other sets that we have access to, so let's talk about them real quick. First, the Mark the Austerity set. This is a set that provides some additional attack speed, and it can provide a lot of attack speed, especially in some particular teams where you are using unkillable heroes, for example Zephy or Ogok. So, and Zephy is from the Lightning faction. Dauntless heroes love attack speed, so this is where the Mark of Austerity set all of a sudden becomes best in slot for Dauntless heroes, especially in unkillable teams. But just overall for Dauntless heroes, they really like the Mark of Austerity set, because it can provide a lot of attack speed. And your Dauntless heroes, they are built all around their basic attacks, so you want as much attack speed as somehow possible. So the Mark of Austerity set, extremely useful for your Dauntless heroes. The next set is the Imposing Presence. Also an extremely strong set, and probably the second best in slot item when it comes to your crit hitter. Except you're building a Dauntless hero, of course, because this set just provides another 25% more damage if your wearer is at 100% HP. Now, if you have a good healer, then your heroes are actually most of the time, or at least very high amount of the time, they are at max HP, at 100% HP, especially if you pair them with a shield hero as well. So then it's just an overall 25% damage increase, which is very, very valuable, which is very, very strong. So the Imposing presents probably the second best in slot item for your crit hitter. Now let's have a look. If you have an attack percentage chest, we can use this for now. It is not the best actually, far from the best, but it is useful. And that's it. This is how your Casper or in general, your crit hitter could look like, but it is not the ideal build. It is the ideal stats, but it is not the ideal build. As you can see, we are missing another 40% crit rate. The tech stat is very fine. We could also, in theory, get a bit more crit damage. So, and this is the second extremely important part that you have to learn when it comes to building your heroes. Sometimes it is not the best case scenario to use the 4 one-piece sets, but sometimes it is just better to go with one three-piece set in combination with one piece set. So 3 legendary items and 1 mythical items is sometimes better. And especially because, as you can see, we have so much more. Just when you're farming your gear, you get so much more legendary gear than you get mythical gear. This is, and it is obvious because it is just within 2 or 3 runs, you always get 1 mythical gear piece, but like 5 or 6 legendary gear piece items. And also you can craft legendary gear, but you cannot craft mythical gear right now, except for the event, of course. So this is why you have just so much more good legendary gear than you have mythical gear. So this is why it is in general a good idea, not always, but most of the time, go with a 3-piece legendary and 1-piece mythical set. So for example, on my Casper right now, I am using this set. And this is also a very important rule, especially early on. It is gear over stat. So now let's have a look at this item. It's the Impregnable set, and it is not the topic of today's video because it is more focused on your support heroes, but it is the perfect item when we are looking at those substats. It provides only offensive stats. It has very good rolls as well. They are very high, as you can see. It's like 30.5 combination with the tempering, 16.5 crit rate and 32 crit damage just on this one item, and also like 10% attack. So this is actually the item that provides the most DPS actually right now for my Casper. This is why I am using this item, even though it is not the best in slot item, or it is not the best in slot set, but it is the best in slot item just because it has so many good stats. So this is also another very important rule: stats over stats. Maybe you know this rule from other gacha games, and for Dragonheir Silent God, it applies as well. Stats over stats. But it depends once again, and if you are a bit more into the season, you will probably have so many different legendary items that you can at least build a 3-piece set which should be stronger than your offset items. And this is the second scenario. Let me show you now how to build a derivative damage dealer, because this is, as you can see, this is my Casper right now. He's not built perfectly, but he is fine. It's like 75% crit rate. It could be way better. Actually, I think that one of those runes is not the right one yet. It's not the right positive rune, but I don't want to do this right now. It just takes some time. He has a little bit more crit rate, a little bit more crit damage on his original build. Now let me show you how to build a derivative damage dealer. And for this example, I'm going to use Laura. Now for the top row, it is actually quite similar. Once again, we want the Fearless Challenge set, and we want the Chaos Symbiosis set in an ideal world, yes. When it comes to the bottom row, we once again want 1-piece Strike the Unprepared And for the other set, we want the Death Record. This set as well it's the best on slot set for your derivative damage dealers. Just helps you to deal so much more derivative damage, and most derivative damage dealers have more than one source of derivative damage, so they can keep this buff up or debuff up for the whole fight. Especially if you have like a full poison team, you can stack those items on different poison heroes, and then the death record debuff is once again up for the whole fight, so it just means overall 20% more damage. Best in slot item, no questions asked. But once again, as I said, it is very hard to farm the perfect gloves and the perfect chest. This is why I am using the following set on my Flora. Oops. I'm using the 3-piece set of the Platinum Knight quality set, because I don't have a single proficiency chest yet from one of the sets. I only have the mark of Austerity and the imposing presence. I don't have a single proficiency chest from the death record, and I don't have a single proficiency chest from the strike by Unprepared. So this is why I am still using the Platinum Knight quality set. And now, this is what the next part of this video is about. I want to talk a little bit more in depth about the legendary pieces or the legendary stats. Because, yeah, as I said, probably for a very long time, maybe even for the whole season, you won't get the best mythical items that you want, and then you can absolutely go with those 3-piece sets. They are very, very strong as well, like very strong. So as you can see, it's just every time she's using her ultimate, for 12 seconds, she's just dealing overall 30% more damage. So this is absolutely perfect for Flora, because her ultimate takes 10 seconds to cast, or it takes 10 seconds until it explodes. So she's casting her ultimate, this effect triggers, and once the ultimate explodes, the effect is still up. It is still an additional 30% more damage. Yeah, so this is that. Now, the Platinum Knight quality set. Absolutely, no questions asked, the best in slot set for your derivative damage dealers from the legendary category. Not from the mythical, but from the legendary category. And then just pair it with your best mythical item that you have, because now you have space for one mythical item. In this case, I am using this helmet. It is not the best one, but it is nice. Another 30% more attack. And it rolls so nice. It provides like 60 proficiency, which is very, very strong. And I guess I already said it, but let me repeat those real quick. You want proficiency on your chest for your derivative damage dealer, and attack percentage on your gloves. Because obviously you want attack percentage because you don't need crit rate and you don't need crit damage. So you want attack percentage. And you want proficiency, aka enlightenment, on your chest. Attack percentage is okay as well, but proficiency is better. So now this is the Platinum Knight quality set. Now let's have a look at the other legendary damage sets before we are finished with this video. The Rhapsodist calling set. And this is a very, very, very strong set. Many people underestimate how strong this set actually is, especially, once again, for your poison heroes, but also for your frost heroes. Your frost heroes will love the Rhapsodist calling set, because first, it just provides a good amount of attack and also some accuracy, and your frost heroes want to apply their frost debuffs, even the DPS units, even heroes like Auster. Where is he? Even heroes like Auster want to apply their frost debuffs, or Drist, for example. And more accuracy is absolutely helpful, helps them just to apply their frost debuffs. And second, the 3-piece set. This is very strong. It increases the damage just by another 32%, because especially your frost heroes and your poison heroes, they just apply so many debuffs that this buff is actually up for the whole time, at least for Auster and probably every single poison hero out there. maybe not 100% uptime, but like a 90% uptime. So another 32% more damage. Now, if we look at the other sets, we compare this to this set, for example, another 32% more damage is actually better than those 25%. Now, of course, this is a one-piece effect, so it can be stacked with other sets as well. But as I said, it takes a very long time to have access to the best in-slot mythical items. So until then, the Rhapsodist calling set is extremely strong for every hero that wants to apply any debuffs, especially for frost and poison heroes. Now, the Heart of the Gambler set. Once again, another very strong set. And as you can see, it already on the two-piece set, it provides another 20% attack speed. So you probably already guessed it. This is very useful for your Dauntless heroes. But also the three-piece set. The three-piece set just at 35% of dealing additional damage, scaling of your attack when the wearer attacks. Now, if you have a high attack speed, the three-piece set can attack way more often. So once again, this is an extremely strong set for your Dauntless heroes. But not only for your Dauntless heroes. There are some other heroes that want this set as well. For example, your Lalvanis, but only when it comes to big waves. So for example, the Continental Challenge Vasca boss. There are many small adds, and so every time she's attacking, and she hits many targets with her attacks, so every single time there's a 35% chance to deal additional damage. So for example, heroes that hit many enemies or many units want this set as well. So also a very strong set if used on the right hero. But of course, not every hero wants this set. Because there are some heroes, for example Flora, that don't want this set at all. So just generally speaking, if you are dealing derivative damage, it is quite simple. Go with a Platinum Knight quality set. And the last set, oh no, it's not the last set, but the next set is the Cyril's Whisper. Also a very useful set. Just because of the two-piece set, it actually provides 20 skill haste. 20 skill haste is very useful, and this is a set that can also be used on non-damage dealing heroes as well. So for example, Electribes or Tamars in the arena are using the Cyril's Whisper set as well, just to get access to as much skill haste as somehow possible, just to be faster than your opponent, so you can stun them or steal their ultimate energy before they can start to cast their ultimates. So just for the two-piece set, the Cyril's Whisper set is very useful. And actually, I think it is more used for the two-piece set than for the three-piece set. But the three-piece set is also very strong. Ignoring defense. Up to 3 stacks, so 21% defense ignore. Very strong, especially for some particular boss fights where you know that you apply many different debuffs. This can be very useful as well, and it can also be used in teams or on heroes that want the Rhapsodist's calling set. But I found out that on Auster or Drizzt or your other poison heroes as well, the Rhapsodist's calling set is a little bit better than the Cyril's Whisper set. The Cyril's Whisper set is more used on heroes that don't apply those debuffs on their own, but if they are used in a team where the members apply many debuffs, then the Cyril's Whisper set is very strong as well. Because ignoring defense can be crucial, and especially for bosses that have very big amount of defense, this is extremely strong. Maybe for example also for bosses that get more defense over time, or for example if you struggle to kill someone like Garius, for example, in Fey Meander, or generally speaking for Fey Meander, the Cyril's Whisper set can be very strong because the heroes in the Fey Meander have so high amounts of defense, and ignoring like 20% of the defense can make such a big difference. So the Cyril's Whisper set for DPS units that are used in a team where the teammates apply many debuffs, or just overall very useful for Fey Meander. Now, the last offensive set, the Imperial Executioner set. This is just an overall very useful set for your crit hitters, because you already can guess what this set is about. It is about crits. It provides a little bit additional crit rate, and 10% can be very useful to reach your crit cap. And also, every time they trigger a critical hit, the damage gets increased by an additional 16%. So, especially if your hero is at capped crit rate, if he is at 100% crit rate, or even at 90%, it's still just a very strong set, because those critical hits, and if he has like capped crit rate, he is always critting, so therefore every single hit of this hero deals additional damage. And this is the Imperial Executioner set. Once again, this is just more, it's a generally very strong set for your crit hitters, but obviously on your derivative damage dealers, you don't want the Imperial Executioner set. Also on your Frost and Poison heroes, there are better options than the Imperial Executioner set as well. And actually, I'm not using this set as much, because I think that the other sets are a little bit more impactful than the Imperial Executioner set. But once again, it depends. If you have someone who is applying many hits, maybe you, and also has very high crit rate, then maybe the Imperial Executioner set is better. But if you have someone who is applying many hits and he has capped crit rate, then you should also probably try the Heart of the Gambler set. Because once again, it benefits from every single hit. Because every single time you hit, you have a chance of dealing 100%, 130% additional physical damage. So, yeah. In my personal opinion, the Executioner set actually is not the strongest out of those legendary sets. Once again, it depends. It depends on the hero, and it just depends overall on the gear that you have. And this is like, to end this video, I'm talking like 30 minutes now. I'm sorry guys. I expected this video to be a little bit longer just because there is so much to talk about when it comes to gear. And there is still so much that I would like to mention actually when it comes to gear. But I don't want to take this video any longer, so I make a cut here. I make a conclusion now. So, just overall, the first rule is stats over stats. So just for, especially for the beginning, just use the best items that you have, even if those are some defensive sets, yeah? But they have like the perfect sub-roles, the perfect main stat with the perfect sub-roles, then use them. It is absolutely fine. Now, the second rule is, for your DPS units, it is the strongest. Best in slot items are 4 one-piece sets, but it is very hard to get the perfect one-piece sets, and as long as you don't have access to the perfect one-piece sets, it is probably recommended to go with 1 three-piece set and 1 mythical item, just because you have access to so much more legendary items than mythical items, and therefore it is way more likely that you can build a very strong three-piece set. And a very strong three-piece set is always better than a mediocre 4 one-piece set. And this is actually, I think, the most important rule, because I'm still at top 20 on my server, and I just showed you the flora that I am using. This is not flora, here is flora. I just showed you, and I'm like top 20 on my server. She has the exclusive artifact, but every single flora in the top 20 has the exclusive artifact. But if I'm not mistaken, I am the only flora user that has a 3-piece set and a 1-piece set, instead of the proficiency, mythical chest, and the attack percentage gloves. Just because those sets, those items from the legendary set rolled very good. No, actually, this is not the chest that I'm normally using. It's a bit strange. I think that I'm normally using this chest. No? Am I using this chest? Seems like it. Okay, it's not the best in slot chest right now because it has crit rate, but I think you get what I'm trying to explain to you. I'm using a 3-piece set and I'm dealing very good amount of damage. I'm dealing nearly 1 million DPS with my Flora, and there is so much room for improvement once I have better mythical gear, but I don't have a single useful or very good best in slot mythical chest, so this is why I am still using this 3-piece set on my Flora. And yeah, I think that's it for today's video. I'm sorry guys, I know it took a very long time. I'm trying to give you as many timestamps as possible in the description below, just to help you navigate through this way too long video a bit easier. And if you have any further questions, please let me know in the comments below. As always, I'm very interested in your opinions. And if you liked the video, if you found it useful, if it helped you a little bit to understand the gear and to build your heroes, please consider to leave a like and subscribe. And that's it for today's video. Thanks a lot for tuning in, for staying in, and see you in the next one, guys. Bye.